Okay, we're starting. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our monthly virtual support groups. Obviously, we're still having them virtually, even though we are currently on level 3, but because we are trying to limit contact and to stay safe, we will still remain virtual until such a time that we see that it's safe. I'm very excited this evening to have with me Mr. Gavin Mkhabela, who is an acclaimed, well-spoken speaker who teach very much on financial matters. As you remember from our last session with Mr. G, we unpacked a little bit on finances and mental health. And with another Mr. G, Gavin Mkhabela, we are going to go a little bit deeper into the decision-making of our financial making. So as you can remember, during the January support group, when we were here together face-to-face, we talked about the January blues. And we talked about it purely from a mental health perspective and not necessarily from a financial advice kind of a perspective. So right now, we want to unpack it a little bit more in terms of this merge or this marry of the finances and the psychology or the mental health. So he's an author of a book, a very easy to read. I think I read it, in a few minutes, on financial planning for what. And I think we bought it for our whole Stokvel or something like that, because we really want to equip ourselves in matters of finances. We want to be knowledgeable in terms of what can we do, especially in relation to our context. So he gives from a number of platforms, from television to magazines to his own Instagram pages. Right now, actually, there is a series of events that he's basically doing online. So follow him at Gavin Mkhabela on his Facebook and also on his Instagram. He will tell us the details a little bit later on. So good evening, Nkensile Butwamina. It's very wonderful to have you here.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me. Under lockdown.
Under the lockdown, but at least we are easing up, being in level 3 now, so things are looking up. And maybe while we are there, at the current time of COVID-19, people are so nervous about their livelihoods. I mean, it's very normal. So what do we say about the impact of our emotions in terms of making decisions about our money?
Yeah. So I think the very, very important thing to do firstly is really to be honest about how we feel. Because I think one of the biggest mistakes that we make, especially around money and finances, is to, sort of underplay whatever that is going on. So firstly, be honest. If you are anxious, you are nervous, it's understandable, you are human. But the second part of that is to have a plan. So I think that, a lot of us get crippled by the fact that, yes, we're nervous about what's going on, because I don't even know if next month I'll still have an ability to generate income, but I can only control now. I cannot control what's happening in the next coming days. So within now, I need to then come up with a plan to say, if the inevitable happens, or if I lose my job, if, I get a salary cut, what will then be the plan B? Because once you have a plan, I can tell you this, that it eases up when it comes to our emotions. So we now become more in control of how we feel. But if, of course, you just walking, in the desert and you don't see where you're going, of course you're going to be anxious, and that can definitely cripple you.
Mm-hmm. So I think what is important in what you are saying is having a plan, even though we can acknowledge that the emotions will be there. You'll be anxious, you'll be feeling all sorts of ways. I mean, there's looming I mean, there's been retrenchments everywhere. It's inevitable. Even
Yeah.
strongest companies
Yes.
are unable to withstand the circumstances in which we have been under. But having a plan can actually help in that decision making. So when emotions are in the way,
Definitely.
how do we know where or what to do with our money, especially when we feel that these emotions are overwhelming us, they get the best of us? How do we know what decisions to make?
So I think on that, obviously, I think that would be more directed into the investment part. So maybe just to go a little bit, just to start from where I spoke about the plan. So two of the important things that I talk about that we need to be able to do, especially looking at where we are currently, are navigating through a storm that we don't know when it's going to end, is that firstly, there needs to be an element of surviving and there's an element of investing. All right. So I'm just going to give you a little narrative that I normally like to use, is to say you need to picture us in a boat right now. And this boat, there is a group of three people, right? And this boat is sailing through the storm, the COVID-19 storm. And we are in the sea or the ocean, and there's a lot of waves there. Now, the first group of people are the people that are going to be washed off the boat. So they're not going to survive. So the second group of people are the ones that are going to hold on to their life, and then they're going to survive, and they're going to get to the shore. And the last group of people are the ones that with one hand, they are holding on to the boat to survive, and on the other hand, they're then tossing the net in the sea to catch some fish. Because when you get to the shore, you don't know what's going to happen. But if you have something to leverage on, then that's going to help you, right? So it's a principle that for me works in this way, that you need to be able to survive. So I need to have a plan, again, going back to what will happen if I lose a job, if I have a salary cut. If I'm already there, it still needs to be, okay, with what I have now, how do I survive for the next couple of 3 months, right? Or 6 months. Now, on the other part is that you need to be able to invest. Now, the investing part obviously speaks to monetary value, but it also speaks to me as a person. Because, for example, if now I invest in a skill that will be able to generate me money, it means that I'll be in a much more better position than I am right now. So surviving is one thing, but investment aspect of it, it speaks to the platforms or what I need to do to be able to make more money. Because unfortunately, for you to change the position or your financial position right now requires you to make more money. As much as you can be able to save, you can budget, you can cut in certain areas, but you definitely need to get to a point where you are making more money. Because if you're making more money, then it means that the standard of living, no matter the circumstances, will then improve. And that is why you see, that in this current environment, there will still be people that are making more money, right? There will still be people that are making money. And then the question is, how are they able to do it? But it's precisely on the basis of they need to keep on moving. We need to keep on doing. We need to keep on selling. We need to keep on evolving as a person, because once I have that, then it definitely enhances my ability to make more money. But if now I just rely on survival, so meaning that yes, maybe I can take my money and put it under the mattress, but it's not growing, right? So yes, I'm keep on using it, but what happens when you keep on using and you're not adding on? It means that that thing will deplete, and when it depletes, what will happen? You don't have anything anymore. So that's the psychology that we should be then driving, that will also ultimately then talk to the bottom line of how we then spend our money going forward.
I think you speak of something that got my attention there, of being able to move. And what I understand is that most people in a environment of a crisis, they either they usually freeze because of the mere shock of a crisis that is coming on them. So most of the time they're unable to think strategically. We call it the old brain, where, the frontal cortex, where the decision making happens, where the logical thinking, all of that, it's in a frozen mode because of a shock. And that is human nature. It's a process, because the old brain was helping us to survive, either to run, to flee, to fight, or freeze, as I'm saying. So not engaging creatively with our brains to say, now that we are here, what can we do? And I think, as I'm saying, it got my attention to say, instead of being in that freeze mode, in that capsizing over the boat, or we getting to the shore, but to say, we are holding on to the net and also getting to the shore at the same time. So what enables that kind of a strategic thinking in a so-called freezing mode, where most people are expected, and genuinely so, they're expected to be in a freezing mode, to not know what to do.
Yeah. So I think on that basis, so there's two elements to that. The first element will definitely be on experience. So I've gone through many things in life. My business fell apart, and I found myself, on the floor, having to pick myself up. So now I think naturally, because I've gone through what I've gone through, this moment, as much as, yes, it goes back to being human. So I froze and I still freeze, but I now have a turnaround time that is much quicker from that point on to say, okay, what do I need to do next, right? So it goes to experience. But now there are people that have never experienced such things, right? So now you find yourself in a position that you have lost your job. You have never been in that position. So what do you do? So in that regard, there are a number of ways to really then, just unfreeze, if I may put it that way. One of the biggest thing is really to consume yourself with a lot of positive content, but not just positive content only, strategic positive content. Because motivational speaking is motivational speaking. You can hear a lot of people telling you, don't worry, it's going to be okay. But I'm sitting here, I don't have food to eat, my kids are crying, that thing doesn't fly, So now I need content that will be talking to me on a practical level. Now I need somebody that will say, okay, Gavin, you have a skill of writing, right? So it's bad right now, you don't have a job, but have you ever thought of writing content for business people? Why don't you think about that? Because then if you can do that, then you can generate some money, okay? Then I say, but how do I get to these business people? Because I've never even thought of what you are telling me to do. But then you can say, okay, because firstly, how many friends do you have that own businesses? So you see, that is more practical. It not only puts me in a feel good kind of mode, but it also gives me the resources that I need to be able to start moving. Because you cannot move, yes, you can have a plan, but there needs to be something. There needs to be an emotion that evokes, that thing that says, okay, now move forward. And then, because once you then say, all right, now I've spoken to Sesi Nkateko, and she's willing to hear me out, and now I need to pitch, right? Now, when I pitch, I get business. So now all of a sudden I have 500 Rand in my pocket. So now the feeling now grows, right? Because now the confidence even is now picking up. So you see, it's practical. It's not just me listening to somebody that says, no, it's going to be okay. Don't worry, these things shall pass. They're not passing now. I'm here. You know, I need to be able to feed my family now. So you cannot just tell me that everything is okay. That is why at times when you tell somebody, it's like, don't worry, don't cry, it's going to be okay. And then they feel like clapping, like slapping you because they like, dude, you don't understand. You know, I'm in this period. And then you tell me it's going to be okay. It's not okay. So what do I do now? So it's definitely that. It's the experience part of it, and it's the strategic, positive kind of content that you need. Because once you have, you know what to do. You know, once I have again, it will always go back to the plan. Once I can see clearly in terms of what I need to be doing, you know, then the resources aspect of it, they come in place. What resources do I need to get me to where I need to get? But it has to be, you know, it has to be something that is more practical. And I think as well, maybe just to also add on that will be one of the mistakes that I've seen, especially around I think retrenchments and people losing jobs, is that you then get paralyzed by the fact that you have lost a job, you're not working. And then the second thought will be, obviously then you hear people, maybe look for a job. So you're looking for a job, you can't find a job. And then people say, okay, start a business. Now, where do you start, right? So then it becomes this big question that again adds on to my anxiety, because now I want to start something, but I don't know where to start. So it is always best to start with what you know. Start with what you know. You know, the little that you know, be able to interrogate that and see what you can do out of it. If you were working as an electrician, go and fix and go and look for irons that you can fix. Whether they're giving you 50 rand, it does not matter. But it's quickly. I can make money because I know this trade. It's something that I'm used to, and that is why I mentioned, when I make the example of writing. So I love writing. So if anything else, I know that I can always fall back on the writing aspect of it, because that's what I like to do. That's what I'm good at. And that so that transitioning now, to then become, for example, a content writer, it's not going to be difficult than somebody who now starting from scratch to learn how to fix wires where I don't even like electricity, so it just becomes a problem.
Yeah. As you saying, that you don't like electricity. I remember I wanted to be a veterinarian because I wanted to be unique. Everybody else who was clever in class was going to be a medical doctor.
Yeah.
Said, no, I like swimming upstream. I'm not a salmon that swims downstream. So a doctor, the other kind of doctor is a veterinarian. And by the way, I hate snakes. Everybody around me knows. As you say, here you are fixing wires, and yet you hate electricity. So I'm hearing three things here. I'm hearing the first thing, the ability to bounce back, which is resilience, working from experience of what was the pain then, and having been able to overcome that pain at the time has enabled you to say, actually, this pain is conquerable, if there's such an English word. I can conquer this pain because I know this pain, I recognize this pain. Yes, it might have come at a different time, a different context, a different moment with different circumstances, but I recognize it and I know I've conquered through it. So that's one thing that I'm hearing from you, it's resilience, which is very much a psychological term. And then the second one I'm hearing from you is being practical. So that even though you have been able to position yourself to make good financial decision, even in the midst of a crisis, but what are you feeding your mind off? Yes, There is, I saw a meme that says when you are listening too much to motivational speakers, and it's people who are chopping a huge tree, I think with a knife or something like that. So sometimes it pumps you up, but then there's
Yeah.
no practical day-to-day steps
Yeah.
to take your hand to say, what do you know? What can you do? Where to start? And so on. And then the third one that I'm hearing you saying is, let's look at what skills do we have, so that then we are not paralyzed and say, this is a mammoth of a thing, it's a big mountain, where do I start? But to identify what are the skills that you have, and to match that with industry needs, or to match that with
Yes.
gaps. The prayer that I always pray in my heart, always, almost a daily basis, on a daily basis, I say, God, help me to have solutions for problems, basically, because I know in having solutions to problems, I will have a bottomless pocket, basically, so my cup will run over and over. As we reflect on that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think as well, that is also very key when it comes to, because one of the, I would say, the downfalls of many of us in terms of our backgrounds is that we were never taught on how to survive, firstly, So we were always, shielded away from the real world. And now when the storms come, because you haven't been exposed to such things, you don't know what to do. I also mentioned, I did a blog, I think it was 2 days ago, or if I'm mistaken, where I spoke about the ability to make money. Now it's a skill to make money, right? You develop the skill to make money. And I don't care whether the person who knows how to make money, they can fall how many times, but they will keep on making money. They will come back and make money again, and then you always wonder, these people, are they using magic? No, it's because they understand the concept. It's a skill. It's making money is not something that just falls from the tree. It's based on experience. It's based on doing. So once I know that, firstly, I need to sell something, because that's where it starts. If I know how to sell something, I have the ability to sell a pen, right? So there is somebody out there who needs a pen. So if I can have that skill, as you say, the more you have the ability then to solve problems, challenges that come, you will forever, have a basis of making money. I mean, I saw during these crises where, somebody, maybe they were, into cutting hair. Now, all of a sudden, salons are not supposed to open. Now, majority of people said and say, look, we'll wait until the lockdown is done. Now, lockdown is coming in September, probably, right? So you are sitting and doing nothing. But then somebody who understands money says, no, man, people still need to look good, right? So what if I then go to the people myself? I live in a flat, I live in a complex, and the people that need hair to be done. So I can go to them. So even if maybe on a monthly basis, I would cut 30 people, but because of the whole coronavirus, maybe I can also, now I can just cut 10 people. It's still mine, and then maybe all of a sudden, it will bring in a new element to my business. Because when I'm at, I have a shop at the complex, it closes at 6. But because now I have created a mobile haircut business operation, it means that my business can go on up to even 12 o'clock at night, because maybe Saturday people want to look good, they're going on weddings and all of that. So it means that I can maximize my ability to make money. So you see, it's all about understanding the skills that are involved in generating whatever that you want to generate. It's a skill, So once you have that, and once, as you rightfully said, you can always solve problems. Now there is problems around I mean, I saw something. I was like looking. I was like, yeah, people now are thinking, because now we are scared of opening doors with our own hands. So they created something that you can open the door with your foot, right? So it's solving a problem, and again now it's generating money for people. So it's all about learning to adapt.
And rightfully so, as you're saying, because we were not taught how to survive. And maybe you are even speaking to us being able to go beyond this crisis and say, what is the skill that we can teach the next generation to be able to survive? We take our kids camping, we take them hiking, and I see how that can be translated as a skill to survive. Where at the moment they are not yet of the age where we can give them money and say survive on that, but on a camp you need to survive because there's no electricity around. On a hike, you need to survive because you get to go to the destination and come back from the destination, or even many other things. And so I think in us thinking after we are shocked and after we are immobilized and paralyzed, we need to even think beyond ourselves and say, what about the next generation? As you rightly pointing it out to say, we were never taught, and I don't think it will be correct for us to make the same mistake, to not be able to teach survival skills holistically to the next generation. With that, anyway, you want to comment on that before I go on to the next?
Yeah, so I think as well, maybe just to dissect it a little bit as well, is to say that, look, surviving is one thing, because when you're surviving, it means that you are basically adapting to the environment that you find yourself in. But as we are seeing on a daily basis, the world is evolving, right? So there is a level of survival and there is a level of evolving.
Sure.
So meaning that we always need to be above whatever that is happening. One of the guys that I'm mentoring today was just telling me how hard it is, to say I'm doing whatever I'm supposed to do. I'm making the calls. I am following up. So I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. And I said, but your thinking is wrong. Because if you're just doing what you're supposed to do, you will never go to the next level. Because when you go to the next level, it's not about what I'm supposed to do. It's doing beyond what I'm supposed to do, which is absolutely critical. Because once then people understand it, you will every day, you always strive to be better than yesterday. And that's the key to success. And I'm learning about it every day to say, I cannot just relax and say, oh, okay, now I'm adapting, now I'm surviving, now everything is okay, I need to feel good. No, I need to be uncomfortable with being comfortable and then move beyond where I'm at.
Given somebody's listening to us and they're thinking, man, how do I even get there? How do I even get to be able to pick up a phone? How do I even get to a place where I'm thinking, what are my skills? I'm down and under, I'm depressed, I'm starving, as you're saying, I just lost my job, I just got a letter now, and I am not even in a frame of mind to be making decisions about my finances. Where else you still need to make them, because by the time those emotions, they still got a hold of you. By the time it's 2 weeks time, 3 months time, 6 months time, and there's no movement, it's obviously going to impact on your livelihood much more. What are we saying to those people? What are we saying in terms of how to cope, how to strategize in their decision making, even when the emotions are not in the right place? So meaning that we're not saying that you need to have your emotions in check altogether 100%, but we're saying that make a movement. So what are we actually saying to the people who are struggling right now?
Yeah. So I think the most important thing is to really understand the people that are around you, or and when I say people around you, I'm not only talking about the physical aspect of it, but I'm also talking about the fact that if you can go to social media and be able to engage on that platform, try and connect with for example, I get a lot of requests from groups. There's one I think yesterday that talks about mental health and depression. So it's people that in that group, they are supporting one another. And I think obviously they invited me so that I can share the content that I normally share. So within that, then I see that a lot of people are, engaging on that, and they will even send inboxes to say, okay, can you please help me? So social media on itself has created a community where you can really reach out. There was one gentleman when I posted about a period in my life when I was really down and I couldn't provide for my kids. And within that, I spoke about the fact that, my girls were understanding. And I just shared that. And he came out, actually, he didn't come out and reach out to me. It was, I think, a friend who then said, look, what you are going through, somebody has gone through as well. And the gentleman mentioned that currently it's tough. He lost his job, and every day he just wakes up and is miserable. But because of now the interaction, I was able to assist him to say, firstly, we went through the whole process. What did you do before with regards to work? What are the opportunities? And currently as we speak, he was able to find some job. Because again, I think going back to me when I was down and out, one of the first things that helped me was to, well, first of all, I think the aspect of, trying to forget, it's very dangerous. So a lot of people will maybe start to drink, or they will drink excessively. That becomes an issue on its own, because once you do that, it adds fuel to fire. All right. And then the second part of it is really around pride. If you can then say, you know what, I am down, so it create a problem when you now need to be able to get out of a bad situation. So I will make an example with me. So when I was really down, and I needed to make some tough decisions in my life, to say, look, I have kids that are dependent on me. And as much as, I was into the entrepreneurial, journey, I wanted to do business, but at the time I needed to make money. And the only way to do that was to go and look for a job. And at the time, you have created this perception on Facebook, on social media spaces, where people think you are making it, your life is great, and now you need to go back and look for a job. And actually, I reached out, at one of the ladies who wanted salespeople, and at the time, I didn't care how much the job, was going to pay me. All I wanted was to make to have an income. And that helped me to then get up again. And I was able to prove myself, because again, it was the fact that, look, I know my worth. I know I can do better. But if I can just have some kind of, a booster, then definitely from there on, it's something that I will then need to work out for myself. So I would say really put pride aside. This is no time to feel, that, look, you're an executive, Now you need to go and find something that is beneath you. It's only temporary, you know. So just be able to think that way, to say, look, it's not going to be forever. It's just for me to survive. Because a lot of people, we now know you as Mr. Executive. Now all of a sudden, you can't go and find a job at Pick and Pay. Like, it's not going to happen, you know. But if now that means you need to do that, you do that, you know, because maybe while you're at the branch, you come up with the system that will take you back to the executive's position. So that's number two. I think number three, faith is very important. And I would say this, being mindful of the fact that, you know, people that will be listening might be coming from different, religious background. So whatever faith that you are under, or, you know, it's very important that you strengthen that. Because for me, that helped me, you know, as I believe in God, is that by, you know, I used to, not used to, but it's something that I'm used to, obviously. But it was, I think, something that would then give me grounding, to say that, look, I'm going through all of this, but I know you're with me. And through that, I was able to get renewed strength all the time. Because another thing that is very important, which is key, is to understand that every like all of us, we have a season. We go through a season. There's gonna be a season where, you know, things are really bad, but it's all about how you know, you are centered in that season. Because that, for me, when I was going through the dark times, definitely they were preparing me for now, you know, to say now I can be able to empower people, but it's because of what I went through. If I didn't go through all of that, I wouldn't have the power and the knowledge to even have this conversation with you right now.
So I'm hearing that you in this segment, or this last part, in giving us the strategies on how to cope. You firstly mentioned that we should not ignore or bury the emotions. We should confront them. We should look at them, because obviously, from a psychological point of view, even if you bury them, they will surface. Just like anything that stings and you put it under the carpet, by the day that you're going to clean the carpet, it's going to be rotten, it's going to be stinking, and it will be much harder for you to deal with it.
Definitely.
The second one, what you have mentioned, is not relying on substances to be able to cope. And you gave an example of alcohol, which will then make matters worse, because now you don't have money, and then you are giving yourself to alcohol or to any other substance that you use. Then it exacerbates the thing, because what ends up happening in any form of abuse of substances is that you forget for a time, but then when you wake up, when you become sober, whatever was you were dealing with is still there. It's still looking at you in the eye. It has not gone anywhere. And then the third one that you had mentioned is pride. That pride does not serve anyone. It does not pay at the end of the day, because, you know, so humility is actually what is going to elevate you. And I think even the Bible says that in, I think it's James chapter 4, verse 10, yes. You know, that we can only be elevated when we are down. And then lastly, being faith. And, you know, with due respect to anybody's religious affiliation, but putting your trust in God, putting your trust wherever you feel that, you know, when there are things that are out of your control, then God can be in control of the circumstances that you are under. Gavin, as we say goodbye to you, and I mean, this was an enlightening conversation that I was having, and I don't think even our Facebookers or our YouTubers want this to end. But as we're ending, where can people get hold of you when they want to engage more with you on what we're talking about? Maybe they feel trapped. Maybe they feel that they cannot do it, but this is your own story as well. This is your journey that you have walked. But, you know, at the same time, you can hold them by the hand, because this is actually your forte. This is what you live for. That's what God has called you for.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm on many social media platforms. So Facebook, Gavin Nyiko Mkhabela. On Instagram, I am Gavin Mkhabela. Twitter, Mkhabela Gavin. So yeah, so they can be able to follow me there. My number is 074 412 764. 074 412 764. So yeah, so they can also order the book there, which I think it's also really speaking about what's happening now. I mean, yesterday I was talking about, 2 days ago, I was talking about planning for maternity leave. And one of the things that can cripple us from a money aspect. So those are the chapters that you get as well when you read the book. And yeah, and then if you want to send me an email, you can send it on info@stokvelinc.co.za or gevcare@gmail.com. So they can be able to get me there. But mostly I'm very active on all my social media platforms, so they can be able to get me there.
And I can attest to that. I think whenever I read Gavin's blogs and posts, I'm thinking there can be already 4 books that come out of that. And I'm hoping you are keeping them, you are keeping note of them, because, that is very valuable. And the reason why I could also liberately invite you to this platform is because I've walked a journey, even though it has been brief, but I know it's still going to be long-term for life. So meaning that if you wanted to get rid of me, you can't, you won't be able to. Just in case,
Even if I wanted to.
I'm unreadable.
Even if I wanted to. No, but I definitely, I appreciate the support, definitely. And thank you so much for inviting me here today and really share, with the viewers out there, because it's really difficult times, but it can only be difficult if the thinking is around it. But if you can just sit and say, look, there's opportunities that can come out of this. There are definitely opportunities. Is it going to be easy? No, but it can really be your time to shine even in this crisis.
Thank you so much. And from us as Pretoria Psychologists, you can always find us on www.pretoriapsychologists.co.za, or also on our Facebook page on @Pretoria Shrinks, or on our YouTube channel. If you have missed this live Facebook feed or YouTube, you can always go back and we have the videos there for you. You can always call our offices as well on 012-344-000. Maybe for you, the connection of finances and of mental health was not yet made clear, but it was made clear in this topic today that, most of our finances can actually impact on our mental health. So you're most welcome. And even during this level 3 of lockdown, as essential workers, Pretoria Psychologists is fully operational. Thank you very much and good night. And thank you to Gavin for indulging us this evening.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.